All right. What solo artists do you like and listen to? Oh my God, I don't have enough time to sit here and tell you about every single one. Although I know a lot of people ask that. I'm actually not going to name bands because I think I talk about bands all the time whenever I do interviews with 4 Trips Ahead. But in terms of solo artists I like, I'm going to name a few that I like. I liked, and my goal for this record was to kind of capture a lot of, in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of cool solo albums that were coming out that were rockin' albums. You could be kind of like a solo artist and be a hard rocker. You didn't have to be a pop artist or an R&B artist or some sort of singer-songwriter. No offense to anyone that's any of those things, because some of my favorite artists are those things. I love people like Joni Mitchell. I love Jim Croce. I love people that write these beautiful acoustic type things. But I'll be honest with you, those records never resonated as much as like the rock and solo guys that put out records. And I know a lot of times they weren't considered like serious musicians, but I think over time people have now kind of looked at it and been like, hey, they made some really good records. So for example, I loved Billy Squier. I remember being 10 years old and hearing Billy Squier on the radio and being like, oh my God, this dude rocks. And I remember seeing him live. He was terrific. I love people like Todd Rundgren, who did really cool, funky albums and sometimes rocked and sometimes did really orchestral type stuff. My favorite and one of my biggest influences of all time is Prince. I loved when he was in bands, and I loved when he did his own solo thing and made his own records where he played all the instruments. I certainly love and respect someone like Lenny Kravitz, who plays and writes and records in that same vein where he's playing all the instruments and has a vision for records. I like that he's a little fearless, although he's very influenced by a lot of the other artists I mentioned, or some of the artists I mentioned. I think he has his own thing with it. And I love, obviously, someone like Stevie Wonder, who, to me, a lot of people forget that a lot of those records are him playing everything. Just incredible stuff. So something like Songs in the Key of Life was really important to me, and hearing what you could do with music. But going back to the rockers, again, I loved people like Billy Squier, like Nick Gilder. I know a lot of you are going to be like, who's Nick Gilder? He had that big song Hot Child in the City in 79 or so. But I love his records. They rock. They're heavy. The guitars are crunchy. Drums are loud. They're in your face. I don't know why solo artists all of a sudden felt like they couldn't rock. You most certainly should and could. And can. So my goal for Freedom's Door was to kind of return to finding a solo artist that kind of put out albums that really rock. And were really, really good. I felt like the first Butch Walker solo album that he put out in the late 90s was like a returning to that. And then, I don't know, he kind of went pop. I love you, Butch. I hope everything is well. You're a great artist. But I loved that first record. It was kind of like rocking. It reminded me of like, yeah, you can be a solo artist and still have a killer band and still rock. I even dig things like early Sammy Hagar records, much more so than I liked his Van Halen stuff. But I love a lot of his early solo stuff where he was just rocking, coming right out of Montrose. So anyway, I'm going on this whole tangent. But the point I'm trying to make is that I really, really like solo artists that kind of are not afraid to really throw down and rock. And I'm hoping that my record will be seen as that and kind of a return to that, as opposed to kind of people leaving big bands and then kind of doing poppier or quieter music. Hey, if that's your thing, great. My thing was like, I'm a hard rocker, and so I'm going to give you more of that. And I think there's some really intense moments in this record that a lot of you may be excited about and will hear. So anyway, that's the kind of thing. So I dig a lot of solo artists, but in terms of hard rockers, that's kind of what I was going for. Thanks.